This is the most popular productivity mouse on the market, Logitech's MX Master 3S. But it's also one of the most divisive. Let's talk about what makes it great, why some people absolutely hate it, I've aggregated 6 main reasons why, and whether it's worth the new $120 price tag. Starting with build and design, the MX Master has an iconic, sculpted, ergonomic shape designed to cradle your palm. Weighing in at 141 grams, or about 5 ounces, it feels solid, weighty, and substantial in your hand. The shape fits somewhere between a traditional mouse and a handshake-style vertical mouse, making it an easier transition if you're new to ergonomic shapes, while still providing plenty of comfort for most users who aren't interested in the full ergonomic setup. There's plenty of support for your thumb with this large wing on the side. On the other side, your fingers can wind up slightly cramped to avoid rubbing on the table, but it's not too bad for my hands. The design is premium, professional, and clean, with simple colors like black, a slightly less black graphite, and a white color. The outside is covered in a beautiful soft-touch rubberized material, making it grippy and luxurious feeling, and the ridged pattern across the back helps to increase both control and comfort. While I love the design of this mouse, 3 of the 6 biggest complaints that I've heard from my viewers have to do with how it's built. The first one comes down to the mouse's size and shape. The size is large, and if you have a small hand, it might not work for you. I've got pretty medium-sized hands, and I think that it feels great personally, but for some people, this larger size combined with the ergonomic shape may make it feel a bit unnatural. This is totally a personal preference though, so it's hard to make too many generalizations. You really need to try it out in order to figure out if it suits you. The second major complaint that I've encountered is the weight. Where I view the extra few grams as a feeling of quality, others simply view it as far too heavy. Depending on how you use your mouse, this could be tiring or uncomfortable, and at 141 grams, this is definitely on the upper end of averages and more than double the weight of some of the super light gaming mice out there. My best recommendation to get around this is to utilize some higher mouse sensitivities. With a higher sensitivity, you don't need to move the mouse as far to have the same response on the screen, and you'll be able to do the same work with less effort and less strain. This won't help everyone, but for some people, it may be enough to eliminate this as a concern. Finally, the third big concern with the build and design comes down to the soft touch coating, which many users see degrade over time. This is absolutely a risk with any product that has a soft touch material used, especially one that you're going to touch for 8+ hours a day. Unfortunately though, the amount of wear that your mouse will see is largely coming down to how much you use it and also how clean and how wet your hands tend to be. If you're working in a situation where your hands will wind up being dirty often, or if you've got particularly sweaty hands, you may want to shop for a mouse that has hard plastics instead, like the Keychron M6. If you do get the MX Master and it winds up getting dirty, you also need to be really careful with how you clean it. Don't use any abrasive chemicals. Try just using a lightly dampened microfiber cloth to remove any dirt if needed. If you don't have a history of issues like this with prior peripherals, you may be just fine. This mouse right here was purchased in November of 2022, about 2.5 years ago, and while I have not used it every single day since I test mice regularly for the channel, anytime I haven't been actively testing another mouse, this has been on my desk. It's my favorite mouse and one of the most productive mice that I use. While this is by no means in pristine condition, it still looks pretty great. My older MX Master 3 saw daily use and some travel while working in consulting, which resulted in it getting many more bumps and bruises. I don't have the exact date when I purchased this one, but it's probably sometime in 2020. But you can see on this model how that rubber coating can start to degrade over time. This mouse pretty much just sits on the shelf these days, but it still continues to look worse as time goes by. In the end, I'd say that it's possible to keep the soft touch material looking nice, if you're a combination of careful and then also just a bit lucky. But eventually it will wind up looking a bit shabby, so you'll want to keep that in mind. As we scroll on over to buttons and wheels, this is where the productivity features of this mouse really start to shine. We start with the regular left and right clicks, which feature Logitech's Quiet Clicks technology. Here is a regular click on the MX Master 3. And then here is the silent clicks on the MX Master 3S. Now between those buttons, you've got a MagSpeed scroll wheel, which is easily one of the best features of this mouse. MagSpeed uses electromagnets to provide a rather unique high-end scrolling experience. In its normal mode, you get tactile line-by-line scrolling, but by flicking the wheel, you enter a completely free-spinning mode where this thing will literally just scroll and scroll seemingly forever. Once it eventually slows down, or if you stop it yourself, it will automatically re-engage that line-by-line scrolling. If you prefer, you can use the button above the scroll wheel to switch it between that dynamic mode and a strictly free spinning mode. This scroll wheel is far and away the best scroll wheel I've used on any mouse. On the side of the mouse, you'll find traditional forward and back buttons, which are also nice and quiet. Next to that is another scroll wheel. This one is completely silent, and it glides smoothly and is primarily used for horizontal scrolling. However, it can also be programmed using the Options Plus software for other functions as well. This side scroll wheel is a pretty big differentiator since there's not that many mice out there on the market which also offer it. Beneath that wheel sits one last hidden button, which works with gesture controls to unlock a whole other set of possibilities. I've never really found myself getting into the gesture controls personally, but for the super users out there, this can be a huge upgrade. Within buttons and wheels sits the fourth major complaint that I've seen from other users. That is the long-term durability of the main left and right clicks, as some users report having failed switches, especially on the primary left click. Now, obviously, hardware can fail on any device, and Logitech is no exception. And it absolutely sucks to have a $100 mouse fail on you. I haven't had this happen to me personally, but there have been many reports in my comments and also on Reddit. The only thing that I've seen as a potential solution for some people that are experiencing this issue is actually using some compressed air. Apparently, dust can build up within the switch, and blowing it out has helped some people whose clicks have otherwise been completely non-responsive. It won't solve everyone's issues, but hopefully calling this out helps at least one person out there who's having issues with their switches. I also want to take a moment here to urge Logitech to better support repairs that include servicing and replacing switches. They do have a repair hub in partnership with iFixit, but they can do a lot better. The sensor used in the MX Master 3S is called the Darkfield High Precision Sensor, which offers between 200 and 8,000 DPI. It's the highest end sensor that's used in Logitech's productivity lineup and is better than the vast majority of other productivity focused products from Logitech or from similar other brands. That being said, even the cheapest gaming mouse in Logitech's lineup, the G203, offers an equivalent sensor, with others in the gaming lineup going as high as 44,000 DPI. So if you compare this to a gaming mouse, it won't come close, but it's still a pretty great sensor. Another highlight of the Darkfield sensor is that it's built to work on basically any surface that you throw at it, including glass. So if you have an unusual working environment, this should have you covered. For connectivity, the MX Master offers two ways to connect to any major computer or mobile operating system. First is the tri-mode Bluetooth connection, which allows you to connect to up to 3 different devices and switch between them with just a click of the button on the bottom of the mouse. Next is the Logibolt 2.4 gig USB receiver, which comes included in the box for the regular model, but not for the 4 Mac version. It also supports the use of Logitech Flow to allow you to swap between 2 paired devices as long as the Logitech Options Plus software is installed on each one. The one connectivity method that this mouse does not support is a wired mode. You can absolutely use it while it is plugged in and charging via the front-mounted USB-C port, but you cannot have it connect directly to a computer via a cable. It always requires a wireless connection via either Bluetooth or Logibolt. This is what I found to be major drawback number 5, and honestly, I couldn't agree more. There should absolutely be a wired connection option. Logitech supports it on their MX vertical mouse. It should support it here as well. For polling rates, which is the frequency with which your mouse talks to the computer and tells it about your movements, this mouse maxes out at 125 Hz. This is standard for a Bluetooth connection, but it's pretty low for a USB receiver like Logibolt. For productivity use, this has always been fine for me and is likely fine for you too. However, for some tasks, such as competitive fast-paced gaming as a perfect example, it could become an issue, and it leads right into our 6th and final major complaint, which is overall connectivity. There are lots of complaints about the low polling rate and for jittery, lagging connections. Now, I don't want to discount the experience of others, but in my experience, the only times I've had issues with my Bluetooth connections has been when something else has been going on. Most notably that the device I was connected to was too far away, the device itself had an issue with bad firmware or BIOS that needed to be updated, or there was something else in the room causing interference, like other wireless devices, or just some physical obstacles like a desk between the device and the computer. The only exception I can think of is with super high resolution or super high refresh rate monitors. I think that the logic makes sense that if you increase the number of pixels and the frequency with which those pixels are updated, a slower mouse input could potentially cause it to feel jumpy or laggy. But again, this is not something I've seen firsthand. I'm just reporting on behalf of others. If you want to share your experience in the comments, please feel free. For power, the onboard battery is 500 milliamp hours in size and gets an advertised 70 days of use, plus a quick charge capability provides 3 hours of use with just 1 minute of charge. Now, based on my years using this and a long time using the previous MX Master 3, you'll need to charge every couple of months. But overall, battery life is good. In addition, if you wind up with a battery issue after a long period of use, you can actually order a full replacement kit from iFixit, which includes the battery, the tools, plus a complete how-to guide for just 25 bucks. Annoying to have to require a battery replacement, but much better than having to throw away an otherwise perfectly good mouse and have to spend another $100 replacing it. Logitech's customization software is called Options Plus and allows you to change the function of the buttons and wheels to suit your workflow. For example, you could change the forward and back buttons to perform copy and paste instead. However, a crucial point with Logitech products is that these customizations are tied to the Options Plus software, since the mouse itself lacks any onboard memory to save them. As a result, if you configure the buttons on one computer, those changes won't automatically carry over to another device unless that second device also has Options Plus installed, synced, and running. While the need for customization might seem less critical for mice compared to keyboards, for example, many of the productivity-focused MX Master users out there will want to leverage the ability to tailor certain button behavior for specific applications in an effort to maximize their efficiency. If part of that work takes place on a computer issued by your company rather than a personal one that's got restrictions on software installations, you may unfortunately be limited to just the mouse's default configuration. In April of 2025, Logitech increased US pricing on about half of their products in response to tariffs and other uncertainties. I made a whole video on the topic right here. The MX Master was one of the hardest hit products, increasing 20% from $100 that it had been since its release up to $120. This is a premium price, but it actually may still be worth it for what continues to be one of the best, if not the best, productivity mice on the market. It's great for school, office work, content creation, programming, and more. It's not as great if you're a really serious gamer, though it can handle casual games as long as you're okay with the weight of the mouse. To recap the differentiators and deal breakers, we have the clean professional design and the ergonomic shape, the awesome quiet clicks, which are great for an office environment, the MagSpeed scroll wheel, which is incredible, the side scroll wheel, which is hard to find on many other mice, and finally the sensor and connectivity, which are solid for a productivity mouse at least. The potential deal breakers are the 6 key complaints that I highlighted through the video. The mouse is large and the shape won't be for everyone. It's quite heavy. The soft touch coating feels great, but may not hold up over time. Users have reported issues with the main buttons failing or getting clogged with dust. There's no connection for wired mode. And finally, users report jittery and lagging connections at times. It's really tough to give a full value take on this mouse just 1 month after the price increases, and with so much continued uncertainty in the global economic environment, thanks to some rather reckless US policies. I believe that this is the best mouse for productivity, and there's simply no alternative in my mind, but that feeling will not be shared by every one of you. It's obviously not shared by the many commenters on my videos and on the Redditors who have shared all of those key complaints that I highlighted throughout the video. For me though, the increased price is still totally worth it. But since Logitech is one of the few brands who have increased prices at this point, the value relative to the competition is unfortunately lower than ever before, at least for now. If you want to check out some alternative options, take a look at the $50 Keychron M6, which I did a full review video on and made a comparison video to the MX Master. I didn't love it personally, but you might. There's also the $50 Rappu MT760, which many people have called out as an alternative, though I haven't tried personally. There's the new $100 Razer Pro Click V2, which lacks the side scroll wheel, but otherwise is fairly similar. And finally, if you want a cheaper Logitech option, there's the $45 M720 Triathlon mouse, which I reviewed on the channel as well. It has a similar shape, almost all the same features, and is really just lacking that side scroll wheel and the higher end sensor. Right now, the other brands outside of Logitech haven't really increased prices, at least not that I've seen, so there's a slightly better argument to be made for each one of them compared to a few months ago. But over time, that could all shift, so it's tough to say with absolute certainty based on whatever day you're going to wind up watching this in the future. If the MX Master 3S is the right mouse for you, there's affiliate links in the video description to pick one up and support the channel in the process. If it's not the one for you, let me know why in the comments and what you're using instead. Maybe I'll even review that mouse next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.